Welcome everyone to the Hillstorian Voices. This is the first edition of the Intro to Business segment. This presentation hosted by Tacoma Historical Society. So we will begin with their customary indigenous acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Puyallup tribe. Though the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854 removed native peoples to clear the way for colonial settlement, the Puyallup people have lived on and stewarded these lands since the beginning of time and continue to do so today. Tacoma Historical Society sends gratitude to the Puyallup tribe upon whose ancestral lands we reside and work. We commit to uplifting the voices, experiences, and histories of the indigenous people of this land and beyond. All of the historic photographs are courtesy of the Tacoma Public Library's Tacoma Pierce County Building Index. The photo of Mr. Max prior to demolition is provided by Chris Beckner, and all other visual and audio files are provided by me, Whitney Brady. With that being said, my name is Whitney Brady. If you're a hip hop head, wicked meticulous, build and destroy. Big shout out to Chrisanne Beckner for her assistance, contributions, and energy to the project. What you will be seeing here is an unfinished project. It will be forever evolving, ever being edited, added to, molded, shaped. Please submit your photos. The line for audio interviews is long. I'm working on shortening it up. With that being said, Intro to Business, first edition, Hillstorian Voices.
A whole host of black families came here through the military.
It was probably predominantly white. Then with time, if people moved out, African Americans moved in and became predominantly black.
The Hilltop used to be an oasis in the pre-60s, 60s, because it was primarily African American, and people had homes. I mean, people were coming from the East Coast to the South where they couldn't buy a house, and they could come up here and actually buy a house.
Like I say, in the 60s, it was probably about 60, maybe 62 to 65% black. Now it's like 85% white.
Other people started moving into the neighborhood.
It demographically has gotten a lot whiter. When I was growing up here, I didn't used to go into a People's/Malcolm X Center or a People's Market or Harold Meyer's Drugs, Paulson's Appliance. I didn't walk into those places and see mostly white people. I saw mostly black and brown people and a few white people sprinkled here and there. And now it's almost flip-flopped.
But now you have University of Washington Tacoma coming up this way, and they're changing the culture of the neighborhood. So you're seeing, as they say, gentrification.
Others may see a lot to do with this land here, and I think they're trying to buy off all homeowners that's here. It's like it's trying to be taken away, but the few that's been here for years is holding on to their property.
The unrest that existed on the Hilltop in the 60s when Martin Luther King was shot and when other things happened.
A while ago, there was on Mother's Day, there was a K Street riots.
Drug activity, prostitution.
The crack epidemic really hit our area, hit it hard, and you can see definitely the changes and how it affected our people.
The challenge of managing the gang activity on the Hilltop.
There was a time in the 80s where Hilltop was known across the country as a bad place to be. Tacoma was on that map because of the gang situation, the murders.
So I remember that there was times where you couldn't even walk down certain streets if you wasn't from the street. If you didn't know nobody on that block, you couldn't walk down.
I hope it doesn't lose the cultural aspect, the beauty of, frankly, African Americans being able to enjoy this great part of the city.
So good to be here.
I love living in Hilltops.
I don't know if there's anywhere else I'd want to call home.
I think it's cleaner now than it has been before, but I still think it could be better.
Peace 253 Hilltops.
I can remember far back as when J Street was a one-way going north. MLK, what is currently called Martin Luther King Way or what have you, was K Street, and that was going one direction, one way, south.
What other businesses do you remember on the hill? Growing up, you think those businesses that are there when you're growing up have always been there and will always be there, but that's far from it. And there are so many.
Black Muslim Fish Market. They used to have the best bean pie and the best fish. So
The Notorious Fish House, legendary.
the Fish House.
Fish House Cafe.
When I first stepped foot in the building, I was probably about 8, 9 years old, but it was Soul King Record Shop. And so, like, when you go in the Fish House now, you see all the pictures on the wall. Well, all what you see now, all that was album covers. And where the counter is, where you can see back into the kitchen area, that was curtained off, so you couldn't see that part. And there's no way that I would have been able to tell that that would be the Fish House then. That's not even, you know what I'm saying? But looking back on it, it seemed like it's so clear how the steps to get you there, you know what I mean? Because by the mid-'80s, crack had got in here, and it was dangerous. And with all the drive-bys going on, made an impact, on the community. And then once people were convinced that it couldn't be controlled, people started moving out. But if it was all by design, which we pretty much figured out that it is, because of what they call it, gentrification is happening all over the country, and it's a pretty rough set. And it's so said, like, one of the reason why we opened the Fish House there was to make a difference rather than to get out, because we were like just selling fish sandwiches up and down the street. In '87, December 5th, 1987, and co-founders of the Fish House, Brother Walter, Brother Abdullah, then you got Roy Simpson, his family, him and his wife. By anchoring that corner and weathering the storm of, whatever was the problems up there, it's caused other people to realize, well, yeah, maybe we can go ahead and open up businesses.
Spirit.
24 flavors ice cream.
24 flavors.
Patterson's with 24 flavors.
Vic's Restaurant.
I remember Vic's Cafe was right there across the street next to what currently is the People Center, but back in the day it was the Malcolm X Center.
Legends.
Legends used to be called Fantastic Burgers.
Fantastic Burger. That's what Legends is now.
Southern Kitchen.
Lay Donut.
Johnson's Candy Company.
Johnson's Candy Shop.
Johnson's Candy.
I remember when K-Way was up there.
K-Way.
K-Way, which was a grocery and meat market.
The K Street Bakery.
The K Street Bakery.
The Hilltop Ponds and Loan.
Riser's Drugstore, that was up on 23rd. Know Thyself Books.
Sprouts Rights, which was a 5 and dime store. Harold Meyer Drugs.
Harold Meyer's Drugs.
I remember Harold Meyer's was on 12th and MLK. It was a popular drugstore, like a little Bartell's for our community.
Mostly churches, little corner stores. The one that was closest to me, and it was called Pioneer. Yeah, well, after that, it was Dabashi.
Debashis.
and Shibes.
Lucky 3.
Cemetery's Barbershop.
Yusef's Unity Barbershop. Cemetery Barbershop as well, because they was really right next to each other when Yusef opened up Unity Barbershop right across the street from People Center.
Cemeteries, I remember Cemeteries was on 17th, right on the corner of 17th and MLK. That was like the barbershop of the community for years and years and years.
Cemetery was like an all-star of barbers. They were all all-stars, So to be in that barbershop growing up was the barbershop to be in. And Yusef, he was a good guy. But he had that entrepreneur spirit, and he wanted to break away and start his own thing. And he always had some real positive to say, So
There used to be a barbershop called Woods.
There was also Woods Barbershop further down MLK, like on 25th, and that was a popular, barbershop too.
Goodfellas.
Speedy Mart.
Thriftway, which was a grocery store on 12th and K and on 12th and Sprague.
Paulson's.
Pinch's
Deli, getting candy every day. That was before they had the rule where only like 3 kids could come in there. They knew all the kids was clipping them for the candy.
Circle K.
Stop Mart.
I think it was called Lucky 7, right there where Raylan's Barbershop is at. How they got all the stores in there, like the gas station, the barbershop, that was all one store.
High Street Market.
We had 2 Safeways for a period of time, one on 12th and Sheridan.
The smallest Safeway known to mankind.
Safeway has been there forever, and it's kind of ironic to me that our Safeway in our neighborhood has probably been the longest existing Safeway in the city, but it's the least renovated Safeway in the city. It's just crazy to me. I don't understand it. Every other Safeway has a Starbucks, has a gas station, has a little credit union inside of it, and all of these bakeries and delicatessens inside the store. Ours, no.
And one on 6th where
the Evergreen State College now.
Right on the corner of 15th and MLK, there was a gas station, Walker's, I think it was called.
Walker used to be a black man that owned a gas station on 15th and K Street.
My father's name was William Jones. When he retired after 20 years in the military, he worked for 10 years as a civil servant for the commissary, and then he retired from that job. And then he started this career of demolishing old homes. And when he demolished old homes, he would save everything. He saved windows, he saved doors, he saved light fixtures, he saved staircase pedestals because it was real wood. It was the real deal, the brick. Then he would resell it. And he found that construction workers loved to get floorboards and old antique windows and antique doorknobs. And so he had that business going in the Hawthorne neighborhood. And the Hawthorne neighborhood was where the current Tacoma Dome is located. They, by eminent domain, took all the homes in that neighborhood and relocated folks in the 1960s. So when the city instituted their eminent domain process and took everyone's property, they also took his business, so they had to relocate him. And where they relocated him to was the Hilltop. On 19th and Wilkerson, there was a business for sale, which was, as I understand it, a former oil furnace when people used to heat their homes with oil. So the city relocated my father to that property on the corner of 19th and Wilkerson. And he continued and grew Jones Glass and Used Materials, and it's still there. His legacy lives on.
People's Bank.
People's Market.
People's Grocery Store on the corner of 14th and K.
Reed's barbecue place used to be up there too, matter of fact. I forgot about that.
There was a Food King.
K Street Italian Deli. They had chocolate-covered worms and ants and that kind of stuff.
Caballeros Club.
Hammer's Apparel. Oslin's Shoe Store. Dippolito's Body Shop.
Sure, there was something else. The big furniture store. It wasn't always a furniture store, you know.
We had the Bluebird and the Chug Duff up on 13th and 14th.
Bluebird Inn. Chug Duff.
Bluebird. The Shug Duff.
The Bluebirds, the Shug Duff, the Rhinelander.
The Rhinelander.
The Rhinelander.
25th Street Tavern.
Comfortable. People enjoy it.
Office Tavern.
Office Tavern on the corner of 23rd and K.
We got Brown's Tavern.
Brown Star Grill.
Brown Star Grill.
Brown's.
Browns. I mean, I can remember as a little boy, I was like, I couldn't wait to become 21. So I could go in Browns and sit at the counter and, you know, like the G's were doing.
Browns. It's crazy because when they closed Browns, I don't even think I was 21 yet. So I didn't even really get a chance to really go in Browns, you know, the bar at Browns. But I did go in there and eat some food.
Still got Mr. Mac around here.
Mr. Mac.
If you was a hat man and you know about feathers and top hats, boom, you was at Mr. Mac's for the exclusive.
Well, when I came out here in 57, it was the second largest retail complex in the city of Tacoma, downtown being the biggest. It was quite a thriving community up here. Well, we had furniture stores, we had appliance stores, attorneys' offices, doctors, dentists, movie theaters, restaurants, dime stores. We had a well-rounded business district. It was quite an area for shopping.
And then you had, Virginia Taylor in the Northwest Dispatch. And that was a big part of what we were doing because she was another one, was like a mentor to a lot of us.
My mom's name is Dora Virginia Jackson. So when I was like 4 years old, Mom had taken me to taking me out to some lady to watch us while she was cleaning houses and stuff. And when she came to pick us up, I was just fit to be tied, crying and shit, diapers all messed up and stuff. And so she was upset with the lady and stuff, and just took us and was like, if I'm paying for this kind of service, I might as well, take care of kids. I can do this shit. Right. So I'm gonna say daycare probably started in 71. So 1970, I would say, because I was like 4 years old. So
don't forget St. Leo's and Edwards Temple as well. They feed and outreach programs at St. Leo's Home. Listen, to this day, they still do a great job doing the missionary work, on that level.
The community people, a lot of, like Tough was one that I'll never forget. Right. I'll never forget Tough because he was the kind of a vagrant person that people would be scared of just because of his appearance. You know what I'm saying? But if you ever got the time to talk to Tough, you'd have some amazing conversation. You know what I'm saying?
More community barbecues, more community water fights. Shout out to Chris Crazy and all those folks that are out here putting things together, for the Hilltop in the city that they love. More positive car shows, for my boy Malachi and shit, man. Just keep on, showing positivity because not only we hurting us when we tear up our communities, but all it do is make these colonizers want to take our land, what I mean, and get us out so that they can do it their way. And I'd rather do it show that we can do it our way and start owning shit and taking care of our shit.
With Hilltop being positioned where it's at, who's running the city? They can't see the viability of having some active businesses in that sector that sits right on top of downtown. I don't understand. That's like an extension of downtown. You know what I mean? Why now? Because there's a train track that runs through that shit now.
So let's meet the person behind the presentation that you just watched. I'm really pleased to be talking with Whitney Brady. Thank you for being with me. And can you start by introducing yourself a little bit as far as who you are, but also how you got involved in doing this kind of work?
Yes, well, thank you first for having me. My name is Whitney Brady. I'm a hip hop artist. In that realm, I'm known as Wicked Meticulous. I'm part of a group of activists, artists called Build and Destroy. And essentially my involvement I'm born and raised on Hilltop, just to start that. But then in doing our activist work, I got more involved in doing research in the history of Hilltop by, going down to the library and going through microfilms and then their Hilltop folder. And from there, I just got, kind of a thirst and more intrigued on digging deeper than what you see in the newspaper articles and things like that. I wanted to find out more in depth from the people and what they remember from the time where I was growing up and before then. So that was kind of my thought process. The project itself didn't necessarily start until I was contacted by the People Center. They were doing some renovations and doing some art installations there. And in particular, they were looking for something with a audio and visual component. And so my background in hip hop and making music, I collaborated with Tiffany Hammonds on a piece called Roots of the Hill. And it is essentially a painting that has touch points on it. And when you touch it, it plays audio. And that's installed in the lobby of the People's Community Center currently. So from there, I conducted the interviews and essentially you don't really know what you're going to get as you get started, but probably after the first 5, 6, 7 interviews, you start kind of getting a picture or maybe a few different storylines that you can use. And so for this presentation in particular, the primary storyline is in regards to business, hence the subtitle, Intro to Business. And I wanted to set it up. It's called First Edition because it is a continuous and ongoing project. And this is essentially the first time there's any visual components, video visual components added to the audio. And I'm looking forward to just continuing to let the project evolve as more people are interested in contributing photos or interviews.
Yeah. So that leads really well to my next question, or one of the main questions I knew I wanted to ask, which is how can people get involved if they want to get involved? So if people want to sit down with you for, an oral history interview, if people want to send you photographs, how can they do that?
Well, essentially you can email me directly for this project. You'll be sending it to BAD_253 @hotmail.com. And you can just put in your email what you're interested in, whether it's sending in photos and or scheduling an interview, maybe giving me a little background on, because essentially some people volunteer others. That was one of the key findings in doing this process. You realize you ask a person to interview. No, I wouldn't like to, but you know what? My cousin or my aunt or my mom. So you get a lot of volunteer. So if you have someone in mind, that also you can put that in your description. But essentially, the email is going to be the best way to get to me, to express your interest in contributing.
Yeah, great. I'll put that up on the screen while you're talking, so that'll be on the screen for people to see. What are some other, I know you started with this sort of episode about business, and that maybe there will be more of those, but what are some other areas of focus that you'd like to go in the future?
So because of the nexus of the project being started from the People Center, there's obviously going to be, there is a segment on People Center. I'd like to expound. One of the storylines is about military. Essentially, probably 40 to 50% of the people that I interviewed had some connection with the military and how they arrived here. So I think that that's definitely going to be a storyline that I pursue a bit more. There's a couple other ones I don't want to say too soon, because I'm close to making some headway on it already, and I don't want to, what do you say, jinx myself.
Yeah, understandable.
But there's definitely a few other storylines that I want to attack and bring out. But for the most part, what I'm looking forward to is kind of hearing some new storylines, because as these last 3 or 4 interviews I just recently did, you start hearing new things that weren't talked about in the first group or batch of interviews. So there might be some things that I can't predict that will come up and be a good focal point moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. So I have a more, I don't know, I hope maybe a more esoteric question for you. You know, you come from a musical perspective. I'm a musician too, so that kind of intrigues me to think from that perspective. Listening to audio, you know, it's people's voices and it's people talking about their own experience, but it's an audio experience. What do you think is powerful about that for telling stories? I mean, why do you think that's a particularly effective way to help tell stories?
Well, specifically in the Black community, that's how we pass the information down through generations. I mean, during the time of slavery, we weren't allowed to read or write. So how else would we pass stories and information? So I think from that perspective, it kind of is a continuation of historical kind of reverence and looking back to the way things were, but also there's a perspective in hearing someone's voice. And particularly in the Hilltop community, there are certain voices that people recognize, that you remember. And I think if I look at this project from a lens of 50 years down the line or 100 years down the line, I mean, in 100 years, everyone that it has been recorded will be gone. But there's going to be people that remember those voices still. And this is a way, I think, to preserve history in a more authentic manner. Anyone can write a memoir or a book about themselves, but to preserve someone's voice and capture it, I think there's unspeakable power that's within there. And yeah, I like listening to it myself.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's what I find gripping about watching that presentation is, you know, and historic photographs too, have a way of capturing a scene and a moment in time in a way that you wouldn't get just from reading about it. And just the pairing of the audio from, authentic voices, people of different generations, people who've had that real lived experience, pairing that with historic, I just found that to be a really powerful approach to storytelling. So I'm really excited to see more and to see, next steps and next projects. We will do whatever we can to help get the word out, and help share more of these presentations. I'm very excited for the work you're doing.
Well, I appreciate it. All the support is definitely appreciated, and I mean, ultimately, I just look at it as a labor of importance, and kind of just something I kind of fell into, but that as I start and continue on, it becomes more and more necessary. I mean, as you look on what's going on in the neighborhood now, on the escalating construction, and the changes will happen so rapidly, there's going to become a point where the way that it looks now is going to be the only thing that people remember. They won't remember what it looked like before there were train tracks going through, or before there were larger high-rise buildings. And I think that's a real important aspect. And I have to give a huge thanks to Chris Ann for kind of being the energy behind pushing the visual aspect. Because at the very beginning of this process on talking about the presentation, it was essentially going to be me in person presenting to someone, and this is just the audio, and maybe have some pictures to go behind. But as we're still kind of in the COVID phases, and knowing that we'd be able to do it virtually, it kind of put more of a focus on including the visual aspect to the highest degree, and all of the old photographs, as that kind of spurred me to say, I have to push this further, because I didn't remember what those buildings really looked like before. And so, yeah, I think it's just real important, especially as we look at how things are escalating now. If it's not captured, it's going to be lost. No one will remember.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So you need stories. You need people who want to talk to you, and also photographs and other, potentially other documents that could, you could put on the screen to back up that audio. It's a really powerful combination. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to share while we still have you here, before I put your email address up on the screen one more time?
Yeah. Well, again, my crew, my group, Build and Destroy, we are hard at work on music continuously. We'll have a website launching soon, hopefully in the next couple months. You can actually go there now. It's bad253.com. It's just a landing page for you to enter your email. So once the website does launch, you'll be notified, and we'll be doing some special things for everyone that sign up in advance. We'll have merch, like wonderful Hilltop Tacoma t-shirt. Music, videos, artwork, it'll all be there. So yeah, that's where I would direct everyone, and that's hopefully we'll get it launched pretty soon, and people won't have to wait around waiting for that email.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, not just for your time today, obviously, but for all the work that has gone into this already. And I'm, again, very excited to see the next chapter, whatever particular one you have coming next. And I'm very excited to help get the word out. So, let's stay in touch and see how Tacoma Historical Society can help get you connected with more people.
Definitely. Thank you once again, and for the work that you guys are already doing. As I said, preparing for this, I visited the YouTube and went through quite a few of the programs, and I think it's important that everyone knows that you guys have your channel, and there's some good stuff in there to be checking out. So I look at this as a good opportunity, just cross promoting each other.
For sure. Anything anybody can do to get people who live in Tacoma interested in the history of our city. And it's important in so many ways. You know, where did your roots come from? Where did your family live? Why does your neighborhood look the way that it does? How can you make things better if you want to make things better? Whatever your mission is about living in Tacoma, history is a big part of that. So, yeah.
Agreed.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you once again, and thank everyone for watching. And look forward to reaching out or interacting with anyone that wants to get involved. Send me an email and we'll chat.
This is a Tacoma Historical Society production.